Hi, this is Heather Sides. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Spokane, Washington. Once a month I come to you with a video of alternate ideas for paper pumpkin. I also do weekly lives if you're interested every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. But I do this once a month and it's kind of a fun way to kind of stretch myself and see what else I can do with the kit provided by Stampin' Up! So if you're unfamiliar with Paper Pumpkin, it is our subscription kit where you get everything you need to make roughly 9 to 12 cards or projects of some sort. Typically it's cards. And Stampin' Up! Provides you with all the supplies you need to make them, including an ink spot and a stamp and the stamp set, as well as dies and card bases and envelopes, all that good stuff. But you can also branch out and do some extra stuff. So it's a great kit for beginners who need that simple guidance, but it's also a great kit for people who have been stamping for a while and want to try thinking outside the box. So it is definitely something great to consider. You can buy it 1 month at a time, or you can buy it in 3, 6, or 12 month periods. I just realized I'm sideways. Darn it. I just don't, This happens all the time. I open my camera the same way every single time, and sometimes I'm right side up and sometimes I'm sideways. So it looks like we're going to have to do this in portrait tonight instead of landscape, which is what I prefer landscape, but we will make it work. So just to fill you in on what's going on these days. Today, my husband took me out for lunch, which was very nice. It is the 34th anniversary of our very first date. So we went on our first date. It was our high school prom. Well, my high school prom. We went to different high schools. And I was 14 and he was 16. So today, he took me out to lunch to celebrate. So that was really nice. And then, of course, I spent the morning and getting ready for tonight, and then when we got home I finished up getting ready for tonight, and he took the dog to the park to try to wear him out. Now he's an 11-week-old puppy. He wears out easily, but he recharges just as easily. So he's worn out now, but you know, give it a good 10 minutes and he'll be ready to tear the house apart again soon, I'm sure. Let's see, I don't know if I have anything else really to tell you that's going on. We do have the new annual catalog coming out on May 3rd. So that's definitely something you want to watch for. And you can see that on my website when it goes live on May 3rd at heathersides.stampinup.net. And I will have that down on the desk here when the camera's facing down, so you'll see it. You can write it down then if you're interested. Trying to think, there's also the last chance sale, all the things that are being retired so that they can make room for new things in the new annual catalog. That's also listed on my website. You can go see that now. A lot of those items are on sale and deeply discounted, even some of the stamp sets, which Stampin' Up! Doesn't always discount the stamp sets, so that's definitely something to check out, especially if you have stuff on your wish list that you haven't gotten yet. It's a good chance to go check it out. Make sure it's not retiring, and if it is, you'll want to snap it up before it's gone. So that, I think, is all the news I have for you. So why don't we turn the camera around? We'll get started. I'll show you a little bit about this month's Paper Pumpkin kit. Change is beautiful. And then we'll get going on our cards. So give me a second to turn this around. Welcome, Talina. It's good to see you. Glad you could join us. Let's see as I get everything all turned around here, make it so I can see comments. I like to see who's here and what they've got to say. Thank you for the happy anniversary wishes. It was also a friend's birthday today, so we went to a little surprise party for him, and so it was just kind of a fun little afternoon spending time together. Okay, so I should put on my glasses because I'll probably want to be able to see while we do this. And this is my website here, heathersides.stampinup.net, that I mentioned a few minutes ago. It'll be there through the whole video, so you can write it down whenever it works for you. Okay, so this month's paper pumpkin kit is kind of in a bit of disarray right now. This is the stamp set that came with it. You can see there's butterflies, and I actually was pleasantly surprised by this set. The way they advertised it, they just showed butterflies, and so I thought it was all going to be, it was just going to be butterflies and stuff, which doesn't really interest me a whole lot. But there is some other stuff too, like the stamps seem to have a lot to do with butterflies and the caterpillar and things like that. But there's some great sentiments in here. Every day is a new day. The one that says, I'm so proud of who you've become. Yeah, I've lost that one already. I just opened this last night. I lost it already. And I am afraid my assistant might have eaten it. And I have no desire to get it back if he did. May this new season hold wonderful new experiences. I believe in you. Beautiful things take time. So it's just, it's a nice little set. And then the card bases that came with it, I don't have a whole lot of them left because I used them for the cards that we are going to make. But this is one of them that's kind of fun. This is the inside of the card. This is the front of the card. And I don't know if you can see it, but the moon here punches out and some of the stars punch out. So then when you close the card, the color shows through. And you'll see that. I did make an example of one of those. There's 3 sheets of dies, including like a little tag, some butterflies, well, a butterfly, caterpillar, star, some flowers, some clouds. So a few different things. And then there's these gorgeous little rocks, little pebbles. I think pebbles must be a popular thing right now because we came out with some in our spring or our January through June mini catalog that are just kind of these little pebbly shapes, and then got these in this kit. But these ones are sort of opalescent, so they're kind of fun to work with. So let's put this kit away and I'll show you what I've made and what we're going to make tonight. So the 3 cards, if you are familiar with Paper Pumpkin, hey Cheryl, welcome. If you are familiar with Paper Pumpkin, then you know that Stampin' Up! Provides you the instructions to make 3 cards and usually provides you with enough supplies to make 3 or 4 of each of them. And these are the cards that Stampin' Up! Designed this month. So there's this one. I had to type every day is a new day in here, and I had to kind of push it off to the side so it shows through. But that's because my assistant may have eaten my stamp, which we've already discussed. But all the cards this month are kind of a fun fold, so that's sort of neat. Another one that Stampin' Up! Designed this month is this one, Beautiful Things Take Time. Again, another fun fold. I love the vibrant colors on this against that black background. And then finally, this is the one that I was describing with the moon, where everything punches out and the blue and the white and the yellow kind of show through. So it's night on the front and daytime on the inside. So it's kind of a fun little creative card. I liked it. Those are the ones provided by Stampin' Up! We are going to make 3 more that I have designed, but I want to show you a couple that I made just with some of my extra pieces. Wow, I didn't realize this one ended up so thick. So I did another one that was a take on that moon one, only I did it on some of our gold foil. And I did not put any kind of a sentiment in it yet because I wasn't quite sure how I would want to use this. I mean, it could be used birthday, congratulations, just about anything. So I chose to just leave it blank for now. But it did give me an idea that you could use any kind of light color back here and make it a baby card. So I guess I just think back to when I was having my kids. It was a big deal to decorate your nursery with the moon and stars and all that kind of thing. So I think that's why it made me think of that. And then I also made this card. This one, I cut up one of the card bases that they provided, but I also cut up an envelope to do those strips, and then just made this one right here. So, well, thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl says, pretty card. And that's the inside of that one. So that's what I did there. Oh, and I did want to show you, just because it's something a little bit different. I want to show you what I did for the envelope. If you've been following me a while, you know I like to decorate my envelopes, and usually I'll put like designer series paper or I'll stamp on the flap. And this one, what I did is I just took gold strips and I put a simple strip there, and then I put one on the front too. I thought it just stepped it up a notch, made it kind of classy, but it wasn't so much that it was overkill. And I haven't done that before where I just did a strip like that. So that was kind of fun. Okay, so are you guys ready to get going with our cards? We'll get going on this first one. Now with this first card, I brought in my Brilliant Rainbow dies because, you know, we had that sky background, and I thought, how can we have the sky background without rainbows, right? So I'll show you the card that we're going to make. And I used one of the envelopes provided, but then I also decorated the flap. And here we go. I just put a little rainbow on the front there. There's the inside with a strip with the sky. That's what we're going to make for card number 1. So we'll start out by decorating our envelope so that the glue has a chance to dry while we're making the rest of the card. Okay. Now I know that on the screen it looks like I'm using quite a bit of glue. I'm really not, because, you know, if you use too much glue, it kind of makes the paper buckle and warp, and I don't like that. I'm not really even taking the tip of the glue off of the paper, so it's spreading that glue around a little bit, so a little glue goes a long way. And I want the little dotty side to show, so make sure I'm putting my paper on there correctly, and then cut off the extra. So what is everybody else up to this weekend? Anybody doing anything fun? As I trim around this here. Okay, oops, I just want to trim that little edge really quick. Okay, so I'm going to set my envelope aside while we finish the rest of the card. Okay, now I've got a piece of Coastal Cabana. It's just a normal half sheet, 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and fold it, and then get a nice crisp edge with my bone folder, if I can get a hold of it there. Okay, now we'll set that aside for the moment. Got a lot of little pieces here. So this was one of the card bases that Stampin' Up! Provided, and I'll show you which one it is. It was this one. And I just cut it right here on that scored line and then trimmed it down just a little bit so that it was the size that I wanted. Then I also have a piece of balmy blue to mat that piece. I've got a piece of white for the inside, and this is one of the pieces that I trimmed off. I think that's where it was. I don't know where it was, but I trimmed it off of this piece to put on the inside. So let's go ahead and glue that on. Okay, let's see here. I might need a little more glue down this direction. I'm just going to stick that on there. I like to use liquid glue on this piece that I do, because if I need to wiggle it around a little bit, it's not dry yet, and I can do that to get it to line up the way I want it, and then cut off the extra. There we go, just like that. And let's go ahead and glue that to the inside of our card. Whoops, I'm throwing stuff around now. Talina says she's finishing her work with her Pokemon Go from her recliner while she watches me make awesome cards. Thank you, Talina. for those of you who don't know, because I don't know if she's ever really announced it here, Talina and her son go out and play Pokemon Go. Her son is 21. Am I right, Talina? Is he 21? Anyway, I think it's just awesome. It's a fun thing she and her son do, and I think it's great to find things like that as your kids get older. It gets harder to find things that they will do in public with mom. And so I love that you guys do that. This is just a little bit off center, so I wanted to fix it. Okay, line it up again. You want your margins to be relatively the same. Perfection is not necessary. Okay, so now we have the inside of the card done. Let's go ahead and do the front. This actually goes pretty quickly. Let me grab something real quick. I forgot to put the banner in here that we need for this card, so I'll just grab it out of my kit here. Okay. Close it back up. Okay. Now I took this strip, this kind of longer one. Actually, I need to stamp it before I do that, don't I? So I took the stamp that says, "Beautiful things take time." And I used the Bermuda Bay ink. So let's go ahead and stamp that on there and pray that I do it straight, because I don't have any more of the banners to redo it if it's not straight. There we go. Okay. Now, clean off my stamp. Put the ink pad away before I do something dangerous with it. Okay, then I took this little strip. This was just a strip that I cut off of. I'll show you. This card base when I was making one of the other cards that we're going to work on tonight. So you'll see that in a few minutes. And all I'm doing here is I'm going to put a little bead of liquid glue right down the center of this. Just like that. Hey Robin, welcome! Okay, and now I'm laying that little strip down, right down the middle. Flip it over so I can see if I needed to adjust it, and I did. So you wanna flip it over quickly to check that, just in case. Okay, now let's see. I don't want this to be too terribly long, so I think I'll trim it there, and I'm going to trim it just a little bit shorter here. I did want it to be shorter on one end than the other. That is intentional. Now what I'm going to do, flip it back over again. This kind of looks sort of crooked, doesn't it? Oh well. Okay, then I have these little bits of a rainbow that I cut out with the dies. I'll show you which die I used here in just a moment. Again, I used the Brilliant Rainbow dies, and this is the die that I used. It cut out all 4 of the arcs of the rainbow. And all I'm doing now is I'm moving this little guy out of the way. I'm going to take my liquid glue, and I'm just putting little bits of glue on the ends of the rainbow. Start with the big one, and I kind of want to center it on my banner. So it's just like that. Now we'll take the next one, and I'm going to do the same thing with all 4. You know what sounds really good right now? Ice cream. I might have to see about getting some when we're done here. Sudden random thoughts that come to me, which I should say actually the ice cream one isn't all that random for me because I always want ice cream. Okay, the last one. Now, There, we've got our little rainbow. And I want to pop it up. Dimensionals are a little too big for the rainbow piece of this, and I don't want them to fall down. And I do kind of like to use the same, whatever foam adhesive I'm using, I like to use on the whole piece because some are sometimes thicker than others, and so it's just easier if you stick with the same one. So earlier what I used is our foam adhesive strips. The downside is I felt like they were almost too wide, and when you look from the side you can see the foam. So I kind of was toying with the idea to see if I might be able to cut it down the center so it's half as wide. I don't know if that's going to work, but we're going to give it a try just to learn. Okay, so I'm taking this first strip here. This is just the back of the banner, so not a big deal there. And then this also can go on the back of the banner piece. Now, let's see if this works even to cut it, because it's already pretty narrow. Well, got that first cut okay. It seems to be working okay. Let's give it a whirl. Oh, that's awfully thin. Awfully thin. I don't know if that's gonna, no, that's not gonna work. I just don't think it'll stay upright. Now this one might, it's not quite as thin. So we'll cut another little piece. Let's see about that one. See, you guys are learning right along with me here. It's a little long. Setting these pieces aside because we can still try to use them on the back of the rainbow. Okay. Oh, I think my assistant is causing trouble in the living room. I just heard my husband ask him what he's doing. Of course, he doesn't ask permission before he causes trouble, so I'm guessing that's what he's doing. Okay. So we've got some there. This might work okay. Okay, now let's see. If I have a strip for the rainbow, I want it to be about that long. I don't know that this is the most brilliant idea I've ever had. It's taken a little more time than, you know, what I like to do. I like quick and easy, but I guess it's not a super terrible idea. And if it works, well, then we go with it. Okay, let's see. I still need to trim down this end a little bit. Okay, so pull all the release tape off. Let's see how this works. And I put it behind my rainbow. I do like these strips though because they do bend very well, even when you don't cut them in half like this. So they're nice for shapes like rainbows and circles and things like that. Okay, let's get this little chunk cut in half, and this can go on that one. Now I prefer to put some of the foam adhesive on each one of those little stripes of the rainbow, which is why I say this might be just a little bit too time consuming for me. But it's a lesson learned for all of us, right? Put this down right in there. This is definitely an exercise in patience, I'll tell you that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the next one. Not so sure I want to spend the whole night doing that, but let's see here. So I started watching a really weird show today, or maybe I started watching it last night. It's on HBO Max, and it's called 9 Total Strangers or 9 Perfect Strangers or something like that. And it's got Melissa McCarthy, who I really like, and it's got Nicole Kidman. And you may have heard of it. It's these people, 9 perfect strangers, show up at this kind of spa resort sort of thing, and they all have, you know, big deal stuff that's going on in their lives, making their lives unhappy for one reason or another, and they're hoping to kind of recover a little bit at this place. But there seems to be something weird going on. I'm only about halfway through it. It's like a mini series, you know, where there's several episodes. And so you're spending the whole time trying to figure out if Nicole Kidman's character, who she's the one who runs this spa, trying to figure out if she's legit or not, or if she's up to something wacky. And I can't say I've figured it out yet. Not that I'd tell you, because I wouldn't want to ruin it for you. But anyway, so far it's pretty intriguing. I mean, it's held my interest. So something interesting if you're looking for something to watch. After you're done watching me, of course. Okay, let's see here. There's that one. I'll put this one on. See, this one gets a little thin. I don't know if it's gonna... The release tape starts coming off on its own when you've been cutting it like this, so it keeps sticking to my fingers. Okay, we're almost ready for the last piece. Okay, now just a tiny little bit on that last little arc, and then we're good. So let's see, maybe about this long. So this is the most time-consuming part of the card, I promise. The rest of it is very quick and easy. It's probably the most time-consuming part of all of the cards, to tell you the truth. Okay. Now let's put this on there. Cut that little bit of extra off. Okay, like I said, that was an exercise in patience. Good job hanging in there, guys. Yeah, Talina, I think you would like it. Talina and I tend to like a lot of the same shows. Okay, get all these backs peeled off. We're almost there, guys. Okay, before I stick that down, why don't we go ahead and glue that piece on there. Now, by the way, with each new catalog that comes out, and I mentioned that we have a new one coming out on May 3rd, with each new catalog, we retire a set of 5 of our in colors. They're only around for 2 years, and then they rotate out, and we bring in 5 new ones. And so next month's Paper Pumpkin Kit is actually going to focus on those colors. So you still have time to sign up for that one. You have until May 10th. And I'm kind of excited to see that one and see what they come up with for us with that. Okay, there we go. So there is the front base of, or the front piece of our card. Let's glue that on, and then we're good to go on this card. Oops. Put it on the front, not the inside. Oh, and we have one more thing to do on this card. Almost forgot. almost forgot the sparklies. Okay, so now that's on there. And then I took some of these little pebbles and my Take Your Pick tool. And let's see, put one there and there. You generally want to try to put odd numbers on. So like 3, 5, there. So there we go. Card number 1 is done. There's our inside. You could stamp more or just write a nice little message. So there we go. What do you think of that one, guys? Put these over here. Okay, are you ready to start number 2? For number 2, I also used our Tasteful Textile embossing folder. This is retiring at the end of this month. So this has been one of my go-to embossing folders because I just like that it gave a nice little texture in the background without it necessarily being a pattern that detracts from whatever the pattern on the card is. I love this and I'm so sad to see it go. But go ahead and check it out. You may want to pick it up before it retires because like I said, I used mine all the time. I see that Jan has joined us. Welcome, Jan. Nice to have you here. Okay, so card number 2. Let me show it to you. This one is kind of simple. Oh, I'm glad you liked it, Talina. Card number 2. And there's the inside. So let's go ahead and get started on this one. We'll start with the envelope. This one I decided to just stamp the envelope. So I've got a little bit of scrap paper here. Just go like, this is old scrap paper. But put it right there so that I don't end up stamping all over the envelope. I just want to stamp on the flap. So I'm now using the butterfly stamp. And I'm just going to kind of stamp these little butterflies going all sorts of directions all over the flap of my envelope. Maybe just that last little bit like that, going off the edge. Okay, so clean my stamp off. Close my ink pad. And that's our envelope. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside for now. And then I'm going to take all my pieces. This is Melon Mambo, and that's the color of ink that comes with this month's kit, actually. This is a half a sheet cut lengthwise, so it's 11 by 4 1/4. Fold it, scored at 5 1/2, right down the middle. Okay, now I should have 2 pieces of basic white. One's for the inside and one is for the front. I also have this piece, which was one of the card bases that we got. And I'll show you. This is the one. And just like the last one, I cut it right on that scoring line and then just trimmed it down a little bit to the size that I wanted. Okay. Then I also... Oh, you know what? This is the side we're using, though. It does kind of look like, well... Talina mentioned that the pink looks like sweet sorbet. I think the sweet sorbet looks a little bit more orangey to me, but I haven't seen it live in person yet, so I don't know for sure. Anyway, on these cards, the back side of it is like this, where you could write on it. I chose to use that as part of my card front, just like that. And then I have a little piece of Granny Apple Green that I ran through the embosser, my embossing machine, with that Tasteful Textiles embossing folder that I told you about. The other thing I did is I went ahead and I tore all 4 edges. And I like to do what I call it a controlled tear, where I'm not just grabbing it and yanking. I kind of go against my thumb a little bit so that I can control how much it's tearing. It takes a little longer to do it this way, but you do get a little bit straighter tear, and you're able to control where it tears so that you get it the way you want it. There is a direction to the grain of the paper, and as you can see, it tears a little more easily going down the long sides than it does going down the short side. But I'm just tearing this like this. Okay. Talina says she loves butterflies. You know, a lot of people do, and a lot of people, they have significance to them, that they somehow represent, you know, for one reason or another, represent a loved one that has passed, and when they see them, it makes them, when they see the butterflies, it makes them think of that loved one, or it's kind of their sign that the loved one is there. So a lot of people really like butterflies. Okay. So you can see I've torn all the edges. I did emboss it before I tore it, just so that it gave it that nice edge. You can steal that.
I know.
My husband just came in to steal the dog's bed. The dog must be driving him nuts. Okay, so then the other thing I did is I kind of pinched up these corners, and I only pinched up the two opposite ones here. And we're going to end up sticking it right there on the card, just like that. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me see what I did on the inside. I forgot already what I did on the inside of this card. Oh, I did some fun stuff with this one. Okay, so let's just put these pieces aside for right now, because we're going to work on the inside of this card. The first thing I did is I have the little tiny butterfly stamp, and then I also have this stamp that says, "May this new season hold wonderful experiences." I really like that sentiment. Okay, and what I did is I'm stamping it with Melon Mambo. First I'll stamp the sentiment just right up here like this. I'm gonna stamp the butterfly, kind of at an angle here. There we go. And then I also, well, I had a strip, but it looks like I forgot to bring it over. I think it's in my box though. I try to keep all my scraps in the box, because then that way, when I go back to it, I've got them. But it doesn't look like I have that one. That's gonna make me sad. Let's see. I have one more place I can look for that particular strip. Okay, ta-da! I'm just going to go ahead and glue that right along the bottom like I do most of the time. And then I'm going to show you my kind of fun thing I did. Fun and simple. So a little bit of glue on here, remember, doesn't take a whole lot. A little goes a long way. If you have too much there, it'll kind of scoosh out and make a mess. There we go. Cut off the extra here. Okay. Okay, then, hang on here. Sometimes when you cut, I don't know if you can see this or not, but sometimes when your blade is getting dull, or if your blade is super sharp, you get like this little lip that sticks up on the edge where you cut. You can just press that back down with your bone folder, which is what I do, because it bothers me. You don't even have to do that if it doesn't bother you. Okay, so now I took one of my blending brushes and I took the the Bermuda Bay ink, and I got some ink on there. Sorry about the shaking. Now I'm going to tap off a bunch of that extra ink right there, And then very lightly, I'm just kind of going over this. Like I'm barely holding on to the brush, to tell you the truth. It's just kind of doing its thing. And what that does is that kind of gives a little bit of a cloud feeling behind it. Got a little bit of a blotch right there. But it isn't a perfectly solid color covering, but it just made it look a little bit like, it just reminded me of clouds. I like that. It gave it a little something so it wasn't that stark white, but it also wasn't a bold new color either. And you saw how quick and easy that was. Let's go ahead and glue that to the inside of our card. Yeah. My adhesive kind of went crazy there. And it went long and then curled around the front of my card. Okay. Haven't had that happen before. Okay. And we're just gonna stick that in there like that. Okay, now let's work on the front. So we've got all these little pieces here, just like this. There's not a lot of stamping on this card. We're gonna go ahead first and we're gonna mount this onto the basic white. Whoop. Just a nice little 1/8 of an inch margin there. Now we're going to take our piece that we had run through the embossing folder. Now one thing about paper when you texturize it like this, adhesive doesn't always hold super well. So I recommend using a really strong adhesive just to give yourself a little bit extra something for the hold. So I do like to use my tear and tape when it's a big piece like this. So go like that. And then I take my bone folder and just really push it into the paper like that. Take my Take Your Pick tool to take that release tape off. And then just kind of line this up. That looks good to me. Oh, it's a little lopsided. Now, the downside of using the tear and tape, fortunately I didn't press it down too hard yet. Tear and tape can be rather unforgiving, so you want to be careful when you use it. Now it's pushed down. It's not going to forgive me now. Okay, the next step is to go ahead and I've got some ribbon here, and we're just going to tie it around. I made it a little bit extra long just because it's easier to tie a good bow when you have extra ribbon. This ribbon is also being retired at the end of the month. Now I tied a bow here. I didn't do a bow before, so let's go back and do it the way I did before. Before I just did a square knot. Okay, now a couple things I'm going to do here. Make sure these hang the way I want. Now see how this is kind of loose and you don't want it sliding or looking sloppy. I'm going to show you a trick for how you can fix that so it's not loose. First, let's go ahead and trim the tails here. Oops. And now they're different lengths and that'll bother me, so I just need to trim this one down just a bit. Okay, now it looks, see how it looks upside down? I'm just going to pull it off and move it around. Get it to where that little knot is where I want it, and I want it kind of off to the side like that. And that still might be, those tails might still be a little longer than what I like. This is like trimming my bangs, you know, where you trim them, pretty soon you're bald. Yeah, don't ask me how I know that. Okay, so now my little trick when it is kind of loose and sloppy feeling, turn it over and cut it. Then just take your tear and tape and tape it back down, but you can pull each side nice and taut so that you don't have a saggy ribbon. Ta-da! Just like that. So now let's go ahead and stick this onto our card base before we finish it off. Got some dimensionals here. I did finally order more dimensionals. For those of you who have been watching, I've been slowly running out of adhesive, or you know, the different foam adhesives. And I've been having to use my dimensionals where usually I like, for big pieces like this, I like to use my foam adhesive sheets, but I ran out of those quite a while ago and just hadn't reordered any yet. I did finally order some the other day, so I should have some new ones soon. Which I'm sure you guys were, you know, it was keeping you up at night worried about it. Okay. And the only reason I don't like to, why I prefer not to use the dimensionals for something like this is because then it just takes a while to tear all the backs off. But they work great. There's nothing wrong with them or why you wouldn't want to use them as far as how your card turns out. Okay, so let's get this onto our card base. Try to make sure my margins are relatively the same. Okay, now we've got this little piece. This is one of the die cuts that came in the kit. And I'm just going to put some dimensionals on there as well. Yes, you got it. I am probably going to put 1,000 of them because that's what I do. Oh, thank you, Jan. Jan says nice color combination. I would love to take credit for that, but it was actually provided to me by Stampin' Up! With the kit. So, you know, Stampin' Up! Did all the work in that regard, but I did like it. Okay. Now, tear all these little backs off. And I put mine in kind of at an angle like that. Ta-da! And then last but not least, I'm going to put some more of those opalescent pebbles on there. And I didn't put a whole lot on this time. I just put 3. Just kind of in random places. Like that. I think I like it better up here because it fills in the gap a little bit better. Kind of in a triangular pattern. So there we go. That's the card with the butterfly envelope. And we are done with number 2. So put a few things away so they're out of the way. And let's get going on card number 3. On this card, I used the painted texture embossing folder. This one is not retiring, but it is another one that I like, that is kind of a go-to for me. Again, because it adds texture without adding pattern necessarily, so it doesn't detract from what I've stamped or the designer series paper or anything like that. This is the card. Oops, let me just put this little piece in here before I'll put it right there so I don't lose it. So this card, I did something kind of fun. This is a belly band, and you know, we're used to seeing belly bands right at the middle of the piece, but on this one, it's actually going on the top. I'm going to pull it off, and then that's our card. Just a little one, like a little note card, and I'll show you where I got that. So on this card base, remember how on the last card where I did this inside, or I did this side, I cut it right at this scored line. Well, this is just the remaining pieces right there, these 2 end pieces. And I made the card out of that. So let's get going on that one. Put my little belly band back on there. Remind myself how I decorated that. Okay, and this is what I did for my envelope. Brought out that green just a little bit. Okay, so let's get started by decorating our envelope. Put a little glue on there. Can you believe we're on card number 3 already, you guys? We're cruising tonight. Okay. Find my scissors. There we go. And we'll set that aside to dry while we make the rest of the card. Let me just check something real quick. Okay, perfect. Okay, now we've got this little piece and we're gonna build this one backwards. So, okay, this is kind of funny. I actually made this like a regular card base instead of cutting it. So let me cut this really quick. Because this piece doesn't need to open up like a card. So it is just a quarter of a sheet. It's 5.5 by 4 1/4. Welcome, Carol. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us. And thank you for saying that was a cute card. Okay, so now we're going to take, I have the black, basic black that I ran through the embossing folder. I think you can probably see that texture there. And then a piece of Coastal Cabana. No, I'm sorry, Bermuda Bay. We're going to put these two pieces together. So let's go ahead and glue them together now. Again, I like to use something strong like my Terran tape when I'm putting down a piece that has texture to it like this, just because it does tend to hold it down a little bit better. Doo-doo-doo. Did you like that little musical interlude there? Okay, now let's go ahead and put this on here. Again, a nice narrow little margin. Let's glue this piece in place. This is a pretty quick one too. They're all pretty quick tonight, actually. Okay, so now we'll stick this on here. Watch our margins, make sure they're relatively the same. Then we have this piece that we cut off from the other card front. And I have a little white piece that's going to go on the inside. We're going to start by taking this little strip and putting it right there on the bottom like that. So let's put a little glue on there. A little crooked. Now it's crooked in the other direction. Okay. I think that's as straight as I'm going to be able to get it. Okay. Oh wow, that is very crooked. I can really see that now, but it's pretty set in place, I think. Okay. Then I have this little tiny die cut flower. If I can get my big fat fingers around it. And I'm just using a little bit of my liquid glue to adhere it. Oh, there's a hair. I don't necessarily need the hair on my card. just right there on the little strip. And then we're going to glue this to the inside. This would make a good gift card holder too. You could fit that gift card, like you could take just a little bit, like glue dots or something, and adhere it to the inside like that. And then just like a little message on this. It's okay if you're a little late, Carol. We welcome you anyway. Okay, so I've got that there. Now let's go ahead and put it on another piece of Bermuda Bay here with just a narrow margin. And now we're going to stick this down. Again, I'm going to use my tear and tape because we're going on that textured piece. And I really want, especially because this piece is going to be opening and closing, so it's going to get a little bit more traffic. And so I just want to make sure it's going to be on there nice and well adhered. Okay, and we're going to center this on the card. Make sure it's where you want it before you lay it down, because remember, once you press down that tear and tape, it can be pretty unforgiving. Okay, then I have a strip. And where is my strip of the green? Hold, please. Okay, so for my belly band, I just cut a strip that's a 1/2 inch wide, and it is 11 inches long. So what I did is I'm going to wrap it around here. Wrap it loosely, because if it's too tight, then what happens is it makes it hard to pull the belly band off. So kind of doing it like that. That gives me an idea of where everything's going to go. Now I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on that end and a little adhesive on that end. There we go. Now that's a little too loose, I think, so I'm going to pull it up and just tighten it a little tiny bit. Okay, and it's okay that that shows, because that is going to be covered up anyway. But you could always trim it down too if you did. Like, it maybe goes a little further than what I wanted. So let's just trim that a little bit, just to be on the safe side. Because that, even though it tore my paper, that's going to be covered up, so we don't care. There we go. Okay, see, just like that. There's our nice little belly band. Man, it's kind of loose again. I don't like it that loose. I'm having issues, you guys. Okay, that's better. Okay, so now I have a strip of the white, and then I had a strip of Bermuda Bay, but I don't know where it went. Okay, hang on. That's so funny. I was looking for this particular piece earlier to put in here and couldn't find it. Then I go and now I have it. Okay, so I am using this punch. It's tailored something or other. It is retiring at the end of the month, so if you are wanting this nice kind of generic sort of tag punch, this is a great one to get. You'll want to get it before the end of the month. And I cut two, a white one and then one out of Bermuda Bay. First thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp on the Bermuda Bay one. And I'm going to use the stamp that says, every day is a new day. And I'm going to stamp with the Melon Mambo. Try to make sure I get it nice and straight. That's the challenge, right? That looks pretty okay. Then what I'm going to do, because I want to have a little bit of a matte behind that white, got the one that I cut out of Bermuda Bay. I'm just going to cut it in half lengthwise. And I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive. Liquid glue works really well because, again, you've got some time to wiggle it around to get it right in place where you want it. There we go. I think that looks pretty good there. Now let's do the other side. There we go. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and glue that down to our belly band. And make sure it's centered on here. There we go. Pull it down so that it's positioned where I want it before I put the little sparklies on. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is take a little bit of black baker's twine. I love baker's twine. It's so easy to tie little bows with it, and you just don't have a lot of bulk, and I really like baker's twine. And I don't want a super big bow here. Welcome, Sally. Thanks for joining us. Okay, there we go. And then I will go ahead and get my glue dots to put my little tiny bow on there. It's like my little loop moved or something. All of a sudden it was bigger than the other one. Okay, so I want it to be right about here. But I don't necessarily really want it that long. Let's cut that a little shorter so it's not in the way of the sentiment. There we go. There. And then last but not least, we're going to take those little pebbles again, if we can figure out where I put them. There they are. And we're just going to put a few on here. Let's see, where did I put them? Okay, so I put one there. Make sure you push them down really well so that when you take your belly band off it, you're not scraping them off. And there you go. There is card number 3 with our matching envelope. Ta-da! Okay, so that's all 3 cards I have for you guys tonight. Let's put some stuff away and we'll just kind of show again what we worked on tonight. move some stuff out of the way. So we started with the ones I showed you that Stampin' Up! Provided for us to make. And what I forgot to show you is the back side has, you can do like a little message on the back side like that. So there's that card. Another one provided by Stampin' Up! Is this one with the sun and the, I'm sorry, not the sun, but well, the moon and the stars, and then you open it up and it's the daylight. And then we also have the one that's the caterpillar and the butterfly, just like that. And then I made a couple of extras just to give you something extra to look at. Let's see here. I did this fun one with the gold and the black. I really like how this one turned out. And the gold stripes on the envelope. Also have this one, the yellow and black with the stars. I think this one could be a birthday card. And then finally the ones that we made tonight. We have this one with the little belly band. Like I said, this could be a gift card holder if you glued, like with glue dots, glued the card itself to the inside of this little piece. I see Donna's joined us. Welcome, Donna. Thanks for joining us. Made this one with the little rainbow and some coastal cabana. Keep all my cards together here. And then finally, there was this one that we made with the little flower and the kind of rustic, roughed up edges there. And on the inside where we made clouds with our blender brush. So that's everything I have for you guys tonight. Several new ideas for your paper pumpkin kit. If you have not subscribed to Paper Pumpkin before, you can do so on my website at heathersides.stampinup.net. You can also purchase any of the supplies I used tonight or any other thing that's in your list of must-haves. And if you do place an order, welcome, Kathy. Glad to see you. If you do place an order, I would love it if you would use that host code if your order is under $150. That's one thing that kind of helps me to be able to keep providing videos like this to you for free. If your order is over $150, please don't use the host code because you will have some freebies coming to you from Stampin' Up! And I want to make sure that you get them. So this is everything I have for you now. I will be back in another month with next month's Paper Pumpkin Kit alternate ideas, but I'll also be back on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time for my normal weekly live that I do. Kathy, don't worry about it. You can always catch the replay either here on Facebook, or as soon as we're done, I upload it to YouTube and you can watch it there as well. Thank you very much for the compliment. I appreciate that. If you guys liked what you saw tonight, I'd love it if you could give me some thumbs up, share the video, even go to YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube page. You can find me under Stamp Happenings. And if you subscribe, you can also click on the little bell. That gives you the notification whenever I upload something new. So if you don't catch it here on Facebook, then you'll be notified on YouTube as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed everything tonight. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys either a month from now with next month's Paper Pumpkin Kit or on Wednesday with my weekly live. Have a good one.